name is Nadine and welcome to Hop Along Studio. Today I want to share with you some of the tools you can use for making circles on your projects. I use a lot of circles in my mixed media work and I used to always use a compass. But recently I found some new tools that have just completely revolutionized how I use circles in my creative projects. So why would you want to use these circle tools in your creative practice? For years, I used to use things like containers, I use lid caps, I use coffee cups to get my circles. But what I found was that, yes, I could definitely get a circle using those shapes, but I didn't get the level of accuracy that I really wanted from those circles. And so my husband had a compass, so I started using a compass in my creative projects. But just a couple weeks ago, I found these really great helix tools for using in my creative practice, and they have made a huge change on how I do my art. I want to show you how to use these tools and the positives and negatives of each type of tool. So let's first talk about the compass. The compass has been around for a very long time and is a very useful tool for making circles. And this is a tool that I always used to use for making circles. And so you have a sharp point that will often pierce the paper, and you basically use the top to go around in a circle. But you'll notice that you have to drag the pencil in a way that you get a good mark. And so it can take a little bit of playing around with this just to figure out how to get a good circle. And then this is a pretty good compass, actually. This is one that my husband used to use when he was taking drafting in school. And you can basically just adjust it through that middle section there and make smaller circles. And so it's very adjustable, and this one actually makes fairly large circles. It will go all the way out, which I figured when I measured it gives you about a 14.5-inch circle. But then the other thing you can do is you can remove this little piece here. And this compass comes with a longer arm. And so you can put the arm in there, and then you can even make a larger circle. With this all the way out, you can end up making up to a 26-inch circle. So it is a really useful tool. It can be adjusted, but I usually find that I need to sit there with a ruler and figure out, okay, so how large of a circle am I getting? What are my inches? What are my centimeters for trying to figure out what circle I want to use? And one of my biggest complaint with this type of circle maker is that it always leaves a pierced hole in the center of your page. What I'll often do is add a folded thick piece of paper or a manual like this and just add my circle shape. And that helps with not leaving a pierced hole in the center. But I do find you have to do a lot of measuring with this to figure out, well, how big is your circle and how you can use it. And again, you can get a really nice set. This one's a Staedtler compass. This one's probably more than 20 years old at this point, but it does work very well for your basic circle making needs. So let's move on to the new tools, and the new tools that I have discovered in the last couple of weeks. And these ones have given me so many aha moments about how to use these in my projects. So with this Helix circle and angle maker, what's nice about it is that it has the measurements on the outside with your degrees on it, and you have a bunch of small circles on the inside, as well as these lines here for making angles and these small dots here. And what's really nice about this angle maker is now I no longer have to stick with just a pencil. I can use a pencil, but I can also use a fine-tipped pen or a fine-tipped acrylic marker. It does have to be quite fine-tipped though, just to work in this one, especially in these little holes. For these larger holes, it doesn't matter as much. You could use a thicker one, but when you're trying to get into these small holes, it's really important. So with this one, you basically put your pen in the hole and you do a circle. And you put your pen in a hole and you do a circle. And then because it has measurements along here, you can actually measure out which size each of these circles are. As you can see, I can make a lot of circles very, very quickly. And then also, if you want a really large circle, and I lifted my circle maker, so this is why it's not going to line up. Sorry about that. Generally, if you actually hold in the center properly, you'll get a perfect circle. But this is just a proof of concept to show you that it's very easy to make circles. And I wasn't spending a lot of time. You can see where I have the lines that kind of overlap in here. And if you're actually using this correctly and taking your time, there's no reason you can't just have perfect little circles. And that's what I love about these small ones here is now you can get into really small circles. And each of them has a marking too. It has from an 1/8 of an inch, 2/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, up to basically an inch in size. If you're looking for an angle maker, if you want to center this, basically line this up and add in your angle. I don't usually use this as an angle maker, so I don't use this functionality a lot, but there's no reason you can't. But what this is nice for is if you're doing things like mandalas, this can help you line up the angles. So if you're going larger than a 4-inch circle, you would have to use your ruler to finish the line. But I wanted just to show you the proof of concept. This, for me, has been a very useful tool. I usually do much smaller circles on my art journal projects, and so this, for me, has been a tool that I have just recently discovered and been using it a lot just because it's been so effective on my creative projects. And stay to the end of this video to see a few examples where I use this in my art. So for the circle maker, the outside diameter is 5 6/8 inches. To get the smaller circles inside, you have up to 4 inches. What if you want to go larger than that? Well, Helix has come up with a circle ruler. What this ruler does is this allows you to do a circle up to 12 inches. And the reason for that is you can see that it has dots along the one side, which works very similar to the circle maker where you can do your circle. It also has the smaller circles from 1/16 up to 9/16. So I'm going to start with a 2-inch circle. What you do is you press down in the center. That keeps things in line. So how this ruler works is you put your pressure down in the center with your finger and the ruler moves around. And so let's say I want to have a 4-inch circle. It's easy enough to just add in my 4-inch circle. And so again, you can go much larger with this. And what is nice about this is you can get those larger circles, again, without having to pull out your compass, without having to pull out the extra arm. It won't leave holes in your paper. I'm going to be using this a lot on boards and my canvas art, just because I don't want to have holes in my canvases and I want to be able to do large shapes. The only drawback of this one is that I find when I'm using it in an art journal, the crease of the paper will sometimes get caught on the edge of the ruler. So that's where I generally stick with the smaller sizes, but I'm generally using a smaller size in my art journal. But something to be aware of, if you want to buy one of these, it's more for flat surfaces like this where you have a little bit more evenness, or the circle maker, because of the nature of this being such a flat surface, you can deal with slightly more bumpy surfaces because it's only the interior section that's moving. It's not the outward edge that's moving. So I wanted to show you an example of how you can use this in your art. And this, I was doing my first try at a mandala. I did not get my circles super even, and that had more to do with me not measuring than anything to do with the circle maker. But as you can see, I have a bunch of smaller circles. I would generally not do something like this on a page with a compass just because it takes a lot of time. But again, because I'm using these really small circles and I can just quickly outline them and add them, it was very easy to complete this design. And here's another example of how I use this. And this one I went very random. I used a circle ruler for the outside, but it did get a little bit caught on this edge. So my circle down here, it's maybe a little hard to see, but it doesn't have like the most perfect edge on it. It was one thing that I found was a little bit of a drawback of the circle ruler, but I was able to get the size that I wanted without having any pierced holes in my page. And then it was very easy to use a circle maker just to add in all my other circles and then just start adding my own art. So really trying to do the 7 small circles, 3 large circles, and the 5 medium-sized circles, as well as the large one, maybe took me less than 5 minutes, which would take me a lot longer using a compass than it would a circle maker. So I hope this has given you some new ideas on how you can use circle makers in your creative practice. I love the circle maker, and I hope that you'll give some of these tools a try. I have found them really helpful for getting ideas down really quickly in my creative projects. And if you've enjoyed this video, if you could like it, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on any future videos. And the supply list, you can always find any of the supplies that I use below in the comments. They are affiliate links, so that's another way you can support this channel so that I can bring you videos every week. I hope you have a really great week, that you take some time for some personal self-care, and I'll see you next time.